Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Pod. My name is Marco.
And my name is Catherine, and today we have an upper intermediate level lesson all about money.
That's right. We are going to be talking about money, but most importantly, we need to start saving money. We need to spend less.
Exactly. So in order to control spending, today we're talking about budgeting. So let's take a look at this very important word in today's vocabulary preview.
Vocabulary preview.
All right. So as you mentioned, budgeting is, what is to budget?
To budget, that's the verb. So budgeting is deciding how to spend your money, okay? So that means that we prepare a plan for how to spend money.
All right, so that can be a noun and a verb. A budget is the plan on how you're going to spend money, and to budget is to execute this plan.
Exactly. So today we're budgeting a family's spending. We're trying to control how much this family will spend in the future.
All right, very good. So why don't we listen to this dialogue for the first time? Welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Carnwell. Please take a seat.
Thank you.
So I understand that your family spending has skyrocketed and you want to start budgeting.
Yes, that's correct. Frankly speaking, our household income is relatively high, and we have never had any money problems. But I think this is the main reason as to why our spending has gone out of control.
We have 2 kids, and with allowances, paying their credit cards, ours, and not to mention our mortgage and car payments, with the recent economic downturn, my husband's business has suffered, and now we need some advice as how we can prepare a family budget.
I see. Well, you have come to the right place. First, what we need to do is determine your cash flow. Knowing how much money is coming in will help us allocate spending to different categories such as mortgage, education, groceries, etc.
Yes, that makes sense.
Secondly, I need you to bring all of your receipts for the last 2 to 3 months. That way we can determine what your average expenditures are and see which category you're spending money on the most. Usually, your fixed costs are higher and we can't do much about that. But we can usually trim your variable costs, such as entertainment or clothing.
Great! We will do that then. Now how about we treat you to a nice dinner?
That's another thing. If you really want to stop spending so much money, throw away at least half of your credit cards. All right, we're back. So there were some interesting words and phrases in this dialogue related to budgeting and a lot of, financial terms here. So let's get started now on language takeaway.
Language takeaway.
This first term is very important because it tells us what kind of a budget we're talking about. We're not talking about a company here. We're talking about a family.
Right.
And so in this case, we use the phrase household. Okay, so what are we talking about? Household income.
All right. So income, we know, is the amount of money that comes in to maybe your wallet, right? My income, my personal income.
That's how much money you earn.
Okay. So a household income is how much money the house earns. So all the people that are living in this house, right?
That's right. So it could be a family. It could be 2 married people who are married to each other. So the idea is that it's not one person's income. It's the household income. Think of a house.
All right, so it's the combined income of everyone that's living there or that's making money that lives in this house.
Right, so if Marco and I have a household, I earn $10,000 and he earns $10,000. Our household income is $20,000.
Very good. All right. So then now we know that what our household income is. And in this case, we have children and we give our kids an allowance.
Okay, so I had an allowance when I was a kid. This is the amount of money I got from my parents every week. So I get, I think, $10 a week, and I could spend it on anything I wanted. And I didn't have to work because my parents gave the money to me. Okay. And so an allowance is this money. It's the money that mom and dad give to their children, maybe every month or maybe every week.
Now, it's not only related to children, right? Because maybe if you have a brother or maybe you're married and your wife is a housewife, maybe you give her an allowance, right? Or the opposite. Maybe you're a house husband and you get an allowance from your wife.
That's right. You can have an allowance if you're anyone. You can also have an allowance from your company if you go traveling. So if you have a business trip, your company gives you a food allowance. That's the amount of money you can spend on food. And you don't have to work for it. That's the best part.
Awesome. All right. So after these allowances, they were talking about, well, how the economic downturn has affected their income and their spending.
Okay, so down, you think this is a negative thing. You're right. Downturn means when a situation gets worse, okay, or slows down. And in this case, the economy is what got worse. And you remember this from last year. Things started to get very difficult for people who are in business. And this has affected families. And so we call the situation an economic downturn.
Now, the opposite would maybe an economic boom.
That's right. A boom is when things are going well. That means people are earning more money. There are more jobs.
All right. Very good. And now moving on, as they were talking about budgeting, they mentioned this very important word, very technical, is to allocate money into different areas.
That's right, or allocate spending. This is a verb, to allocate. That means to decide where the money will go. Okay, so as the mother in a family, I will allocate 10% of the money to the children's allowances. That's a lot. 50% to the mortgage, 20% to the car.
Okay.
Car repairs.
So you're allocating your spending.
That's right. I'm deciding where to spend the money.
Okay. And well, talking about spending, we have this word expenditures.
Expenditures. And so this is a really important word if you're in business as well, because we consider expenditures when we're talking about how much a company earns. Expenditures are things that we spend money on. So remember that word expenditures, spend.
Okay, so an expenditure. And this is a noun, and usually it's in the plural, expenditures.
Exactly, expenditures. So we have many expenditures at my house. Among them, we have the car, the rent, healthcare, things like that.
Okay, perfect. So really good phrases there, really good vocabulary items. Why don't we move on now to Fluency Builder?
Fluency Builder.
We've got some very fun phrases today, Marco, in Fluency Builder. This first one is a very common phrase that we hear in songs and movies.
To skyrocket. All right. What is skyrocket?
Well, you think about a rocket, that's a ship that goes to space. To skyrocket means to go up really high, really fast.
Okay.
The price of gas has skyrocketed. So I remember when I was a kid, gas used to be 98 cents a gallon.
Wow, really?
And in the 2000s, the price skyrocketed, and it ended up being like $4 a gallon.
Yeah, it was really expensive. All right, so this is also, you can talk about sales have skyrocketed, or the price of petroleum has skyrocketed.
So it could be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on what you're talking about.
All right. And now moving on, they said that their spending was out of control.
Yeah, so this family doesn't seem to understand how to budget. They spend on everything. And so the accountant says that your spending is out of control. That means that you're spending too much. There's no order to the way that you're spending.
And we actually have a previous lesson called Out of Control Spending, that we also touched this topic of what we talk about out of control. Something is out of control. A person can be out of control.
Like a child. This child is out of control. He never stops screaming and hitting people.
All right. And our last phrase for today, the accountant says, well, you've come to the right place.
Okay, this is the accountant bragging. He's saying, well, I can fix your problems. I can help you. You've come to the right place. You can use this in many different ways. For example, I have a problem maybe with my TV, and I say, Marco, oh my gosh, my TV doesn't work. I don't know what to do. Can you help?
Right, and I can say, well, you've come to the right place. I can fix your TV.
Marco's an expert in electronics.
All right, so you've come to the right place. It's a very common phrase, especially as you say when somebody's trying to brag and say, well, I know how to fix your problems, or I know what you need.
I'm good at this. You've come to the right place. If you want to learn English, you've come to the right place.
Exactly.
Englishpod.com.
All right, so let's listen to our dialogue for the last time. Welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Carnwell. Please take a seat.
Thank you.
So I understand that your family spending has skyrocketed and you want to start budgeting.
Yes, that's correct. Frankly speaking, our household income is relatively high, and we have never had any money problems. But I think this is the main reason as to why our spending has gone out of control.
We have 2 kids, and with allowances, paying their credit cards, ours, and not to mention our mortgage and car payments, with the recent economic downturn, my husband's business has suffered, and now we need some advice as how we can prepare a family budget.
I see. Well, you have come to the right place. First, what we need to do is determine your cash flow. Knowing how much money is coming in will help us allocate spending to different categories such as mortgage, education, groceries, etc.
Yes, that makes sense.
Secondly, I need you to bring all of your receipts for the last 2 to 3 months. That way we can determine what your average expenditures are and see which category you're spending money on the most. Usually, your fixed costs are higher and we can't do much about that, but we can usually trim your variable costs such as entertainment or clothing.
Great! We will do that then. Now how about we treat you to a nice dinner?
That's another thing. If you really want to stop spending so much money, throw away at least half of your credit cards. All right, we're back. So now talking about allowances. You said you had an allowance when you were a kid. Did you really have a $10 a week allowance?
No, I think it was like 8. It started out at $6 or $5 a week, and then I think the most I got was like 10 or 11.
Oh, wow. So it was like almost about $1 a day.
About that, but usually the point was that, well, I started working when I was 15 because my parents thought it was important for children to learn how money works. But I was given that money because at the time, it was enough money to go out one night. So on Friday nights, if I wanted to go out with my friends, I could go out to watch a movie and get a slice of pizza, and $10 was enough. Okay. Now $10 doesn't even buy you a ticket to the movie, but at the time it was more than enough.
So this is important, I guess, because different families have different ways of upbringing their children, and in many cases this doesn't happen, right? If I want to go out to the movies on a Saturday, then my parents will give me $30, and if I want to go out next weekend, they'll also give me money. So it's interesting to see the contrast, because obviously when I was a kid also I didn't really get this opportunity of going out all the time, and actually I had to work for it. So if I wanted to go out on the weekend, I would get an allowance, but also I would have to wash the car. That was typical with my dad. I had to wash the car.
Well, I think it's interesting because it shows that the parents want to teach their children about budgeting. Because if you only have $10, you really have to budget. You have to decide how you will allocate that money, even though it's not very much. So in some ways, it's good practice.
Yeah, it is. I think it's done us well. We're not in debt.
Not yet.
All right. So let us know how allowances work in your country, or maybe did you have an allowance when you were a kid? A lot of people didn't have an allowance. I know a lot of friends didn't get allowances. So come to our website, englishpod.com, and if you have any other questions or doubts, please leave them there as well.
We hope to hear from you. Until next time. Bye everyone.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Rise rapidly, as in price. Skyrocket. Beyond the ability to direct the actions of something. Out of control. Plan the way to spend money in order to save more. Budget. Assign. Allocate. To be honest. To say it directly. Frankly speaking.
Let's try that faster.
Assign. Allocate. Beyond the ability to direct the actions of something. Out of control. To be honest. To say it directly. Frankly speaking. Plan the way to spend money in order to save more. Budget. Rise rapidly, as in price. Skyrocket.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Skyrocket. The ratings for this TV show have skyrocketed in the past month. Skyrocket. Her popularity skyrocketed after she won the competition. Skyrocket. The company's profits skyrocketed with their new advertising campaign. Out of control. I really need to learn how to budget because my spending is out of control. Out of control. Her anger was out of control when she learned that they had killed him. Out of control. His driving was out of control. Budget. My roommates and I really need to start budgeting the money we spend on food. Budget. Her family has started to budget the money they spend on shopping. Budget. He needs to start budgeting his time better. Allocate. The teacher allocated tasks to different students. Allocate. I need to allocate my study time between my different courses. Allocate. He allocated the prize money to different charities. Frankly speaking. Frankly speaking, you should break up with him. Frankly speaking. Frankly speaking, the government is just trying to get away with raising taxes again. Frankly speaking. To be frank, I don't think this is a good decision.
Hello everyone and welcome to English Pod. My name is Marco.
My name is Catherine, and today we have an intermediate level lesson all about cell phones.
That's right, we're going to be buying a cell phone, or also known as a mobile phone. So before we jump into the dialogue, let's take a look at a specific type of phone on Vocabulary Preview.
Vocabulary Preview.
Well, the name of this phone is kind of funny. It's called a smartphone. It's very popular these days. Things like the Apple iPhone or the HTC Hero. These are examples of a smartphone.
That's right. So basically a smartphone has additional functions more than just a normal mobile phone. For example, you can check your email on a smartphone.
Yeah, so the thing that makes a smartphone different from a normal mobile phone is that it's like a small computer. You can do things like Marco said, send emails or take photos, edit photos, use applications, things like that from your phone.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about smartphones, so let's listen to the dialogue for the first time.
Hello, sir. May I help you?
Yeah, I accidentally dropped my phone in the toilet.
I see. Well, you've come to the right place. We have over 100 models of more than 20 leading mobile phone manufacturers.
Sounds good. I don't want it to be too expensive. Maybe something mid-range.
We have this new HTC smartphone. It comes with the Android OS, so you can download applications. It also has a built-in camera, MP3 player, and touchscreen. It works on the 3G network, so you have fast access to the internet wherever you are.
What about Wi-Fi?
Of course. You can access the internet from any hotspot, as well as from home.
One last thing. Is it waterproof?
All right, we're back. Now, have you ever done this? Have you ever dropped your phone in the water? Have you ever damaged the phone like that?
Luckily, no, knock on wood, but I have a good friend who dropped his in the toilet and
As
had to
well.
buy a new one. Yeah, so this is not made up.
It's actually more common than what people think, but we'll get to that in a bit. Why don't we take a look at 5 key words in language takeaway?
Language takeaway.
This first word is very important because in this particular dialogue, we're talking about the HTC smartphone. This is a special kind of phone, and it has an Android operating system, or OS. So Android is something that Google came up with, and they have this operating system that they're giving away for free. If you want to use it, you can use it. You can make a whole new phone using this operating system. So the operating system, like Windows or what's the Mac one called?
Tiger OS.
Tiger OS. You have these Linux, yeah, Linux. These are like the interface that allows you to use your computer and to interact with it. And so they're different for different kinds of computers. But the same is true of a smartphone.
Exactly. So that's what we're looking at today. If you see this word Android, it's a proper noun, and as Catherine mentioned, it's the name of the OS or operating system developed by Google. So we're taking a look at a smartphone that uses the Android OS. All right, now this phone not only carried this operating system, but also an MP3 player.
That's right. So an MP3 player is a device that plays songs for you. So songs can be stored as MP3s. And a good example of an MP3 player is an iPod.
An iPod, exactly. And for many of you, you're listening to this podcast as an MP3 file through an MP3 player. So that's the name. We usually say MP3.
Exactly. And another feature of this special smartphone is that you can use it on the 3G network. What is a 3G network, Marco?
All right, so a 3G network is a third generation network, which allows more information to be sent. So not only can you send voice like a normal cell phone network, but now you can send pictures, or you can download information like, for example, your email. So this is a new 3G network. It allows you to send more information, more data.
Exactly. 3G, third generation. And in addition to this, our customer wants to know about Wi-Fi, okay? Wi-Fi, you hear this a lot when you go to a hotel or a restaurant. They say we have Wi-Fi access.
Right. And Wi-Fi stands for wireless fidelity. So it's basically internet that has no wires. You don't need to connect your computer to anything. You just log on and use the internet.
All right, so look out for that when you're in a cafe next time. Do they have Wi-Fi? Usually there's a sign on the wall. And finally, this customer wants to know, is this great phone waterproof? What is waterproof?
All right, so if you have a watch, for example, and you can take this watch into a swimming pool or the ocean, it means it's waterproof. So it resists water. It won't get damaged if it gets wet.
Great, so I could say that I have a waterproof jacket.
Right.
So that means that when I go in the rain, my clothes don't get wet because they don't go inside the fabric.
Right. So, and there are many things waterproof as watches or waterproof cameras. I've never really seen a waterproof mobile phone, though. That's a good invention, maybe.
That would be.
All right. So those are 5 keywords for language takeaway. Why don't we listen to the dialogue again, and we'll be back.
Hello, sir. May I help you?
Yeah, I accidentally dropped my phone in the toilet.
I see. Well, you've come to the right place. We have over 100 models of more than 20 leading mobile phone manufacturers.
Sounds good. I don't want it to be too expensive. Maybe something mid-range.
We have this new HTC smartphone. It comes with the Android OS, so you can download applications. It also has a built-in camera, MP3 player, and touchscreen. It works on the 3G network, so you have fast access to the internet wherever you are.
What about Wi-Fi?
Of course. You can access the internet from any hotspot, as well as from home.
One last thing. Is it waterproof?
All right, we're back. So now we have 3 phrases for you on Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
Okay, this first phrase is a way of expressing something. So we're going to give you a formula. The first word is leading. So leading mobile phone manufacturers. So when we use the word leading, we're saying that it's leading in industry. That means the most important manufacturers in a kind of industry.
Right. So it's one of the biggest, it's one of the best. And if we want to change the noun, we can say, for example, the leading car manufacturer.
Exactly. So in Japan, I wonder who the leading car manufacturer is. Is it Toyota maybe?
Toyota.
And we could also say that about clothing. The leading clothing manufacturer in America is, I have no idea, Cotton maybe?
Cotton, right. So you can use many other nouns. And well, if you want to drop the manufacturers, you can say the leading brand in cosmetics or the leading supplier of medical equipment.
So this means the person or the company with that's the most important in an industry.
Right. And going back to one of the features of the mobile phone, we talked about the built-in camera. Now this structure is interesting. Built-in.
Well, we can say that things are built in when they are a part of something else. For example, a built-in camera is a part of a phone. It's not a camera and a phone,
right.
2 different devices. They're put together. We can also say this about cabinets. You can buy cabinets and you can put them in your house and keep things in them. But we often have built-ins. That means that they're stuck on the wall. You can't take them away.
Right.
So those are called built-ins because they're part of the wall. So a built-in camera is a part of the phone.
Right. So you can pretty much use this structure with 2 products that are combined as one. For example, the cabinets that Catherine mentioned, or if your refrigerator has a television incorporated, right? You can say this refrigerator comes with a built-in television.
Or very common is the laptop with built-in speakers. So that means we don't have to bring speakers with us every time we want to use the laptop. There's small speakers inside the computer.
Very good. And we have one last phrase.
One last phrase.
One last thing. All right. So that's our phrase. One last thing. Oh, wait, before you go, one last thing.
So this is often said when someone's leaving a conversation. So I'm going to say, okay, Marco, I've got to go run and do something. I'll see you later.
Right. Oh, wait. One last thing.
Wait, what? Oh, okay.
Right.
So now I'll wait. So one last thing is a way to say, no, wait, hold on. I have to tell you
Something
one more
else.
thing.
So yeah, as you say, you can use it as a fixed phrase. One last thing. Or before I go, one last thing. Can you take out the dog?
One last thing we have to talk about.
Right. And this was our last word. So why don't we listen to our dialogue for the last time?
Hello, sir. May I help you?
Yeah, I accidentally dropped my phone in the toilet.
I see. Well, you've come to the right place. We have over 100 models of more than 20 leading mobile phone manufacturers.
Sounds good. I don't want it to be too expensive. Maybe something mid-range.
We have this new HTC smartphone. It comes with the Android OS, so you can download applications. It also has a built-in camera, MP3 player, and touchscreen. It works on the 3G network, so you have fast access to the internet wherever you are.
What about Wi-Fi?
Of course. You can access the internet from any hotspot, as well as from home.
One last thing. Is it waterproof?
All right, we're back. And I actually read somewhere that many girls have this accident because they place their mobile phones in their back pockets. So when they go to the bathroom, they accidentally, the phone accidentally drops out and falls into the toilet.
I heard a different explanation for
Really?
this common problem. Maybe not very appropriate, but boys have this problem because they take their phones to the bathroom and they play with them when they're using the bathroom.
I've also heard this, that you're maybe checking your messages or checking your email while in your bathroom, and it falls.
Just falls. Yeah, so I think boys and girls all have this problem. Be careful with your phones. Those smartphones
Right.
are still pretty expensive.
Yes, they are. All right, so if you have any questions, any doubts, you can contact us at englishpod.com, and we'll see everyone there.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
By accident. Accidentally. Advanced. Fashionable. Lead. Software program. Application. A telecommunication system. Network. Place with internet connectivity. Hotspot. A phone with wireless internet capacity. Smartphone. Management system. Android OS.
Let's try that faster.
Place with internet connectivity. Hotspot. By accident. Accidentally. Management system. Android OS. A phone with wireless internet capacity. Smartphone. Advanced. Fashionable. Lead. A telecommunication system. Network. Software program. Application.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Accidentally. I accidentally scratched his car with my bike. Accidentally. They accidentally left the lights on while they were on vacation. Accidentally. How can a person accidentally burn their house down? Application. With this application, you can see which restaurants are nearby your current location. Application. I've downloaded many free applications, but I can never justify buying pay applications. Application. He designs iPhone applications for a technology company. Network. All of the computers in this office are connected by a network. Network. Our brains are a system of nerves and connections that control all of our body's processes. Network. The wireless network is down. Can you pass me that cable so I can connect to the internet? Hotspot. He is always checking his emails. He only goes to restaurants with wireless hotspots. Hotspot. This cafe is perfect. All you can drink coffee and a wireless hotspot. Hotspot. I have to find a wireless hotspot in this airport so I can send out an email right away. Smartphone. Apple's iPhone revolutionized the smartphone industry. Smartphone. I'd really like to buy a smartphone, but they're almost as expensive as a laptop computer. Smartphone. Buying a smartphone has made my life much more convenient. I don't have to bring my computer with me everywhere now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to English Pod. My name is Marco.
My name is Catherine, and today we've got an upper intermediate level lesson for you all about money.
That's right. We are trading money. We're actually negotiating in this very popular topic nowadays, the whole foreign exchange market.
Okay, so we're talking about currency, which is the money of different countries. For
Right.
example, the currency of Ecuador is...
The US dollar. Yeah. Hard to believe, but
What?
true. I'll tell you all about it later.
Okay. Well, the currency of America is also the US dollar. So with that in mind, let's listen to today's dialogue.
Hey, John. I haven't seen you in ages. What's new? What have you been up to?
Pete, nice to see you. Well, on top of the norm, you know, wife and kids and work, I've actually gotten into doing some trading.
Trading? You, big guy? What are you trading?
Currencies.
Currencies? As in euros, dollars, pounds, and rupees?
It's called Forex, foreign exchange. The great thing about it is that I don't have to invest a huge amount. I put in a margin deposit and then I can buy and sell up to 100 times that much.
I don't understand. You're buying and selling money?
You got it. Just last night I made $150.
Last night?
Yeah, it's a 24-hour market. I'd bought some renminbi earlier at a low asking price, but last night it appreciated drastically. So I made a split-second decision and sold all of my RMB at an amazing bid. I've also done some trading with Swiss francs and Australian dollars and Hong Kong dollars. I've made some good profits, but I've also suffered some losses. It depends on a lot of factors, just like any other market. In total, I've made about $500 in the past few months.
You're kidding. I'm on. Where do I sign up? All right, we're back. So this guy is trading currencies, as we heard. And, well, we're going to talk about a lot of the specific vocab that he used about this topic. So why don't we take a look at some of those now in Language Takeaway.
Language takeaway.
Well, the first thing I think we should talk about is one of the first things that he says, actually. Peter says, I haven't seen you in ages.
I haven't seen you in ages, right. So, obviously, he hasn't seen him in a long time, and that's what in ages means.
That's right. So, we haven't seen each other in ages.
Mm-hmm. So, what other ways can we use in ages, or the word ages?
Well, you could actually say, it's been ages.
So that means it's been a long time.
It's been a long time, or we haven't gone out for ages.
Okay, so then you can use it with for ages.
For ages, in ages. So the key word here is ages, which means a long time.
Long time. Okay. And, well, he hasn't seen him in ages, and the guy's like, well, you know what? I've actually gone into trading.
So that means he's started doing some trading.
Right. Now, trading is a very broad word because you can trade, as in this case, currencies, which is basically to buy and sell currencies.
But you could also trade stocks, right?
Mm-hmm. You can trade stocks, or even people that are involved in import-export. They are involved in trading.
Trading. So basically trading is buying and selling something.
Right. So you're trading. You are exchanging a product for money, or money for a product.
But the difference is you're not actually making any products.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's called trading. You're not really manufacturing anything. You're just exchanging goods and services and money. All right, so that's for trading. Now, moving on, he was explaining how the foreign exchange market works, and he says, I don't have to invest a huge amount. I put in a margin deposit, and then I can buy and sell up to 100 times that much.
So, Marco, here's the question. What is a margin deposit? Because a deposit is basically money that you invest somewhere, or that you pay in.
Right. Well, basically, a margin deposit is like a percentage. So he basically puts in a percentage of what he intends to buy. So, for example, a margin deposit of $1,000 might be $1 or $10.
Okay, so maybe if it's $10, you're talking about a 1% margin.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So that's what he means by a margin deposit, and that's why he explains that you don't have to have a large amount of money in order to trade in the foreign exchange market. You just put in a margin deposit, and then you can work around that.
Well, it sounds pretty easy, but then he explains some more details about it, and it gets to be a little bit more complicated.
That's right. He explained about how he makes money and how he bought some Chinese renminbi, and then he sold it because it appreciated drastically.
So he bought it when it was cheap, and he sold it when it was expensive. So the price changed.
Right.
So this kind of price change, when something goes from cheap to expensive, it's called appreciating. Mm-hmm. Appreciation. So the verb is to appreciate.
It's very different from using it in the sense of you appreciate someone, right? Like, oh, I really appreciate you.
Yeah, no, it's very different. We could say this about most goods or investments. For example, my parents bought a house in 1970, and the value of the house has really appreciated over the last 40 years. So now the value is much, much greater.
Mm-hmm. And actually, just mentioning it while we're on the topic, to appreciate, as you say, is something becomes more expensive. The opposite, when something becomes cheaper or maybe the value goes down, is to depreciate.
Depreciate. So that D at the beginning means it's going down.
Right. Okay, and moving on to our last word for language takeaway. So when he was talking about selling the Chinese currency, he said that he sold it at an amazing bid.
Okay, let's talk about bid here. B-I-D, bid. What does this mean?
So to bid is to place an offer for something.
Okay, so for example, at an auction, when someone is selling many old objects or some art, I can bid $100.
Right.
And maybe someone doesn't accept my bid.
Mm-hmm.
But if they do accept my bid, then I pay for it.
Right. So basically, a bid is just another way of saying an offer. You're offering a certain amount of money for that product or that service. And you see it a lot, for example, on eBay, right?
That's right. So eBay is an auction website, basically. And someone who's selling someone can see many, many bids, and they select the best bid.
Exactly. So that's what a bid is. So that's all we have for language takeaway. Let's move on now to Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
Marco, what have you been up to lately? I never see you.
All right. This is actually a very common sentence. What have you been up to? But most English learners don't really understand what it means.
Well, this is a really interesting point because I say this all the time. This is very native, very colloquial. What have you been up to?
It's almost the same as saying, what's up?
What's up? Or where have you been recently? What have you been doing recently?
Right.
How's your life?
Right. So this part, up to, what have you been up to? It doesn't really say much if you translate it literally. But basically it's, what have you been doing? What have you been spending your time on?
So to be up to means to do something, to do.
Right. And there are many other definitions of up to, but in this case, what have you been up to means that. What have you been doing?
So next time you see a friend you haven't seen in a week or two, you can say, what have you been up to?
All right. And John answers, well, on top of the norm, wife, kids, and work. That phrase right there, on top of the norm.
Well, the norm here means the normal. That means basically normal life. I've been working, I've got my kids, my wife, on top of the norm. Just life is normal.
Right. So the norm are the wife, kids, and work. On top of that, I'm actually getting into trading, right? So the normal situation, the normal life is wife, kids, and work. And then he's saying, on top of that, I've actually been doing this.
Exactly.
Okay. And now moving on to when he's explaining again the market and the currencies, he talked about an asking price.
Okay, asking price. This is, remember we were talking about bids? We could say that someone has an asking price, which is the price they would like to receive for an object or a service that they are selling. And so, for example, I'm going to sell my desk. My asking price is $100, $100. Maybe you don't want to pay that much, but my asking price is the way that I'm going to start. That's how much I want for it.
Right. So that's your asking price. That's how much you ideally want to sell it for, but you can negotiate. You are willing to accept maybe a lower offer.
Exactly.
Okay. And what is our last phrase?
A split-second decision. This is really, really important. These words go together very often. Split second and decision.
Okay, so that basically means that you made a very quick decision.
That's right. Split second. Very fast. It's almost like it's less than a second. And so a split-second decision means a decision in no time. It's very, very quick.
So we can actually mix split second with other things, right? For example, so maybe you can say he reacted in a split second and avoided the crash.
Okay, so good for him. He reacted quickly enough to avoid the accident.
That's right. So split second, very fast, very quickly. A split second decision, a decision that was made very fast. Okay, so that's all we have for Fluency Builder. Why don't we go back, listen to this dialogue one more time, and we'll be back to talk a little bit more. Hey, John. I haven't seen you in ages. What's new? What have you been up to?
Pete, nice to see you. Well, on top of the norm, wife and kids and work, I've actually gotten into doing some trading.
Trading? You, big guy? What are you trading?
Currencies.
Currencies? As in euros, dollars, pounds, and rupees?
It's called Forex, foreign exchange. The great thing about it is that I don't have to invest a huge amount. I put in a margin deposit and then I can buy and sell up to 100 times that much.
I don't understand. You're buying and selling money?
You got it. Just last night I made $150.
Last night?
Yeah, it's a 24-hour market. I'd bought some renminbi earlier at a low asking price, but last night it appreciated drastically. So I made a split-second decision and sold all of my RMB at an amazing bid. I've also done some trading with Swiss francs and Australian dollars and Hong Kong dollars. I've made some good profits, but I've also suffered some losses. It depends on a lot of factors, just like any other market. In total, I've made about $500 in the past few months.
You're kidding! I'm on. Where do I sign up?
So, Marco, you have to explain this to me. We're talking about currency today. So every nation has a currency. For example, in the dialogue, we learned that India has rupees.
Pounds are in Britain.
Britain has pounds, and Australia has Australian dollars. America has American dollars. But you just said earlier that Ecuador has American dollars too.
That's right. Actually, Ecuador went through a very difficult economic situation in late 1998, early 1999, where there was hyperinflation. So basically, there was an inflation that was very, very, very large.
So that means that the old currency lost its value very fast.
Exactly. So, for example, if the currency before in Ecuador used to be sucres. So if 10 sucres was $1, all of a sudden it was 50 sucres was $1.
Oh, wow.
So, and it got to the point where goods and services went from 3,000 to $1 to 25,000 to $1.
Oh, okay. So people have bags full of money and it's not really worth anything anymore.
Exactly. So what happened was the central bank couldn't absorb this currency depreciation. They couldn't really regulate prices. Obviously, salaries were about the same, so you have a lot less money comparatively. And so the government decided that there were two options. Either they would follow Argentina's example, what they did a couple of years before, and set a fixed rate. So in Argentina, it's 3 pesos to $1. Or we would just get rid of our currency and just use US dollars.
So that's what they did, right?
They use US dollars, and now if you ever travel to Ecuador, you will use US dollars. The same exact bills that you use in the US are the same exact bills in Ecuador.
So no need to exchange currency.
No need to exchange currency, and that's why I guess there are many factors that people say are a lot better. For example, trading has become a lot less complicated because now you're negotiating in US dollars as in everywhere else in the world. But then other things, as you know, not having a national currency also affect. So there are a lot of things going on, but it's an interesting topic.
Very interesting. Well, so maybe for those of you who are listening, you could tell us about your country and your currency. What do you use? What do you spend money on? And do people buy and trade currencies where you're from?
Exactly. Or maybe you can even enlighten us with with the exchange rate. Maybe usually it's a good question to ask, how much is a liter of milk? Or how much is a haircut?
Right, because these are things that everyone needs, so the price doesn't change that much.
Exactly. We're really curious to know how inexpensive or maybe very expensive your country is. The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Something is usual or expected. Norm. The money that a country uses. Currency. The sum of money required to reinstate. Margin deposit. Taking effect rapidly. Drastically. Very quickly, just a second. Split second. An offer to pay a particular amount of money. Bid.
Let's try that faster.
The sum of money required to reinstate. Margin deposit. Something is usual or expected. Norm. Very quickly, just a second. Split second. An offer to pay a particular amount of money. Bid. Taking effect rapidly. Drastically. The money that a country uses. Currency.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Norm. What's the norm in this company concerning protocol? Norm. This is the norm, so you'd better get used to it. Norm. Delivery, McDonald's, and street vendors are the norms around here. Currency. Before I went to France, I had to change some of my Canadian currency into euros. Currency. What's the currency in this country? Currency. My country's currency is worth next to nothing in USD. Margin deposit. He decided to start with a margin deposit of GBP 100. Margin deposit. I can't believe that I can trade with USD 1 million deposit when I've only put in a margin deposit of USD 10,000. Margin deposit. One has to be careful with trading using a margin deposit because the risk of losing more money than one has are high. Split second. The gang members were closing in on me fast, so I made a split-second decision to run instead of fight. Split second. My heart pounded as I made a split-second decision and took hold of her hand. Split second. My split-second decision to try a trick on my bicycle in order to impress my friends didn't end well. Bid. The current bid ask for EUR USD is 1.3998-79. Bid. I bought euros at an ask of $1.4235 and sold British pounds at a bid of $1.5001. Bid. The bid for Japanese yen and the ask for Hong Kong dollars are really good right now if you trade in US currency.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Something is usual or expected. Norm. The money that a country uses. Currency. The sum of money required to reinstate. Margin deposit. Taking effect rapidly. Drastically. Very quickly, just a second. Split second. An offer to pay a particular amount of money. Bid.
Let's try that faster.
The sum of money required to reinstate. Margin deposit. Something is usual or expected. Norm. Very quickly, just a second. Split second. An offer to pay a particular amount of money. Bid. Taking effect rapidly. Drastically. The money that a country uses. Currency.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Norm. What's the norm in this company concerning protocol? Norm. This is the norm, so you'd better get used to it. Norm. Delivery, McDonald's, and street vendors are the norms around here. Currency. Before I went to France, I had to change some of my Canadian currency into euros. Currency. What's the currency in this country? Currency. My country's currency is worth next to nothing in USD. Margin deposit. He decided to start with a margin deposit of GBP 100. Margin deposit. I can't believe that I can trade with USD 1 million deposit when I've only put in a margin deposit of USD 10,000. Margin deposit. One has to be careful with trading using a margin deposit because the risk of losing more money than one has are high. Split second. The gang members were closing in on me fast, so I made a split-second decision to run instead of fight. Split second. My heart pounded as I made a split-second decision and took hold of her hand. Split second. My split-second decision to try a trick on my bicycle in order to impress my friends didn't end well. Bid. The current bid ask for EUR USD is 1.3998-79. Bid. I bought euros at an ask of $1.4235 and sold British pounds at a bid of $1.5001. Bid. The bid for Japanese yen and the ask for Hong Kong dollars are really good right now if you trade in US currency.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Something is usual or expected. Norm. The money that a country uses. Currency. The sum of money required to reinstate. Margin deposit. Taking effect rapidly. Drastically. Very quickly, just a second. Split second. An offer to pay a particular amount of money. Bid.
Let's try that faster.
The sum of money required to reinstate. Margin deposit. Something is usual or expected. Norm. Very quickly, just a second. Split second. An offer to pay a particular amount of money. Bid. Taking effect rapidly. Drastically. The money that a country uses. Currency.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Norm. What's the norm in this company concerning protocol? Norm. This is the norm, so you'd better get used to it. Norm. Delivery, McDonald's, and street vendors are the norms around here. Currency. Before I went to France, I had to change some of my Canadian currency into euros. Currency. What's the currency in this country? Currency. My country's currency is worth next to nothing in USD. Margin deposit. He decided to start with a margin deposit of GBP 100. Margin deposit. I can't believe that I can trade with USD 1 million deposit when I've only put in a margin deposit of USD 10,000. Margin deposit. One has to be careful with trading using a margin deposit because the risk of losing more money than one has are high. Split second. The gang members were closing in on me fast, so I made a split-second decision to run instead of fight. Split second. My heart pounded as I made a split-second decision and took hold of her hand. Split second. My split-second decision to try a trick on my bicycle in order to impress my friends didn't end well. Bid. The current bid ask for EUR USD is 1.3998-79. Bid. I bought euros at an ask of $1.4235 and sold British pounds at a bid of $1.5001. Bid. The bid for Japanese yen and the ask for Hong Kong dollars are really good right now if you trade in US currency.